What do you guys think? How far can a liking go? A fan who likes an actor or actress, loves them with all their heart, and then kills them because they played a role in a movie that makes them angry. Yes, I'm going to talk about what happened to the beautiful 1980s American actress and model, Rebecaa Lucile Schaeffer, who was brutally killed when she was just 21 years old. This case was not any ordinary murder case. Rather, it shocked the whole American law and led to the formulation of anti-stalking laws for the first time in America. So, what exactly happened? Rebecaa Lucile Schaeffer, born on November 6, 1967 in Eugene, Oregon, was the only child of her Jewish parents. Her mother, Danna, was a writer and instructor who taught at Willamette University and Portland Community College, and her father, Dr. Benson Schaeffer, a child psychologist. Rebecaa Schaeffer was raised in Portland. Rebecaa did not always want to become an actress. Instead, she initially aspired to become a rabbi. But she began modeling during her junior year in high school. She appeared in department store catalogs and television commercials, and as an extra in a television film. In 1984, when she was 16, she worked a summer in New York City with elite model management, and with her parents' permission stayed in the city to pursue modeling. In 1986, she landed the role of Patricia Patti Russell in the CBS comedy My Sister Sam, and this role became a big turning point not only for her career, but in her personal life. However, this series was later canceled in 1988, and she appeared in several films, including the black comedy scenes from the class struggle in Beverly Hills. Everything was going good for this young lady, until one of his fans, who claimed himself to be her biggest fan, laid eyes on her. Robert John Bardo. Robert John Bardo was the youngest of 7 siblings, son of a former Air Force officer. He grew up in Tucson, Arizona, the object of much physical and mental abuse. According to one of his teachers, Bardo was a time bomb on the verge of exploding. One of his childhood obsession stories is also very famous. When he was 13, he became obsessed with this one kid named Samantha Smith. Bardo took a bus to Maine in search of Samantha Smith, the child that became famous for sending a letter to Mikhail Gorbachev. The authorities found him and returned him to Tucson. Bardo became a good student, but wrote his teachers threatening letters. He was hospitalized 2 times because of severe emotional damages. At 16, while working as a janitor for a fast food restaurant, Bardo found a better reality in television. In the fall of 1986, he became a fan of My Sister Sam. In particular, Bardo began to be obsessed with the character Patti, played by Rebecaa Schaeffer. He literally built a shrine to her in his bedroom. Like millions of fans, Bardo started to write letters to her. Rebecaa responded, writing that his letter was the most beautiful that she had ever received. Poor Rebecaa, not even aware what was going on his mind. On her letter, she drew a peace sign, a heart, and signed it, "With love from Rebecaa." The day Bardo received the letter, he wrote in his diary, "When I think of her, I would like to become famous to impress her." In June 1987, Bardo arrived at the Burbank studio gates where My Sister Sam was produced, carrying a teddy bear and a bouquet of roses for Rebecaa. Naturally, the guard didn't let him in. Bardo returned a month later with a knife, but didn't gain entrance then either. In his diary, he wrote, "I don't lose, period." Bardo returned to Tucson. Later on, he saw her new film, Class Struggle, in Beverly Hills. In the movie, Rebecaa had a bed scene with a male actor which gravely upset Bardo. He couldn't envision his innocent young girl being an adult woman. To him, she had now become one more of the bitches of Hollywood. Bardo decided Rebecaa had to be punished for her immorality. He drew a diagram of her body and marked spots where he planned to shoot her. He asked his older brother Edgar to buy him a gun. Bardo, 21, bombarded Rebecaa with swarms of love letters. He also collected videos of Rebecaa's TV shows, Amazing Stories, My Sister Sam, One Life to Live. He bedecked his room with dozens of glossy publicity photos of the girl he lusted for. He even mailed an ominous-sounding letter to his sister in Tennessee, telling her if he couldn't have Rebecaa, no one else would. He then hopped a Hollywood-bound bus in Tucson, hell-bent on tracking her down. On July 17, 1989, Bardo called Schaeffer's agent's office and tried to find out where she lived. Refused this information, he relentlessly roamed the streets, flashing her photo and asking passers-by if they knew her address. He needlessly paid a private detective $250 to find her. Needlessly, because for as little as $1, a person can go into any of California's DMV offices, fill out Form 70 stating who they are, what person they want information on, the reason, and how they intend to use it. Even if they lie, the information is delivered on the spot. Armed with this information, on July 18, 1989, Bardo, dressed in a yellow polo shirt, rang Rebecaa Schaeffer's doorbell. The intercom wasn't working, so she came downstairs to the apartment building's front door where she saw Bardo and basically ignored his attention. He left and grabbed a meal of onion rings and cheesecake at Jan's restaurant at 8424 Beverly Boulevard in Los Angeles. After about an hour, Bardo returned to the house and rang the bell again. Still in her housecoat, Schaeffer came to the front door, turned the handle, and opened it. She answered the door with a cold look on her face. Bardo later said he pulled out the handgun and shot her in the chest at point-blank range in the doorway of her apartment building. According to Bardo, she fell and said only, "Why?" On July 18, 1989, 19-year-old fan Robert John Bardo shot and killed Schaeffer at her home in West Hollywood. Bardo also mentioned how he felt that Rebecaa had this kiddish voice. She had this kid voice, sounded like a little brat or something. Said I was wasting her time. Wasting her time. No matter what, I thought that was a very callous thing to say to a fan, you know. I grab the door, gun still in the bag. I grab it by the trigger. I come around and kapow, and she's like screaming. Why? And it's like, oh God. A neighbor named Richard Goldman heard the 2 gunshots and 2 blood-curdling screams and rushed to her door and found Rebecaa Schaeffer's body clad in a black robe, twitching in the building's foyer. He checked her pulse, but found none. Witnesses saw a young man in a yellow shirt jogging up the Hollywood block. He turned into an alley and disappeared. Sirens screaming, Rebecaa was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. She lingered for 30 minutes before she died. The next day, back in Tucson, several motorists called 911 to report a man running around in traffic on Interstate 10. It looked like he was trying to get hit. He confessed immediately to Schaeffer's murder. Arizona police faxed his photo to LA, and witnesses confirm his identity. In court, he appeared dazed and confused. I could probably tell you what I did after I killed her, how I got sick and all, but I don't feel like it, he said. Rebecaa's body was shipped back to her native Oregon for burial. I was a fan of hers, and I may have carried it too far, said Bardo. A year after the slaying, Bardo gave an interview in which he stated, I was a fan of hers, and I may have carried it too far, but a lot of things have appeared in the press to make me out to be a monster. If I had one wish, where if it was to ever come true, it would be for Rebecaa Schaeffer to be alive today. When Bardo's sister heard about the murder, she contacted the police about her brother. He was extradited to California. Bardo defense attorneys pleaded he had an unstable mental condition due to childhood abuse. Bardo was tried and convicted by prosecutor Marcia Clark, who would later become most famous for her unsuccessful attempts to prosecute O.J. Simpson in the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend. Convicted of capital murder in a non-jury courtroom, Bardo was sentenced to life without parole by Superior Court Judge Dino Fulgoni on December 20th, 1991. Eyes flashing like satanic neons, Bardo told the judge, "The idea I killed her for fame is totally ridiculous. I do realize the magnitude of what I've done. I don't think it needs to be compounded by a bunch of lies because she's an actress." Bardo was stalking Rebecaa for 3 years before he killed her. This left American law to answer a big question. Rebecaa Schaeffer's murder provoked Governor George Deukmejian to sign a law that prohibited the DMV from releasing addresses and inspired the Los Angeles Police Department to create the first threat management team. The California law was passed in 1990 and became effective on the first day of 1991. The law was the first of its kind and later helped to convict Jonathan Norman, who was sentenced to 25 years in prison for attempting to carry out threats against director Steven Spielberg. According to the legislation, a stalker is defined as someone who willfully, maliciously, and repeatedly follows or harasses another victim and who makes a credible threat with the intent to place the victim or victim's immediate family in fear of their safety. There must be at least 2 incidents to constitute the crime and show a continuity of purpose or credible threat. By 1993, all states, as well as Canada, put anti-stalking laws into effect.